Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. So today I'm going to be starting kind of a new series on my channel, and basically the purpose of this is to give you guys videos that can apply throughout any season that are going to be consistent, that you guys can pretty much go back on and watch at any point. I'm going to probably call the playlist just like evergreen videos, basically meaning like they'll, last for a very long time. They're always going to kind of be relevant. And so we're going to start off with a video on how to improve, because that's a very general thing that you guys can kind of apply to a lot of different parts of your gameplay once you watch these more like other videos that I'll have in this series. So I'll probably make 1 or 2 of these a week, usually on the weekends, because that's when I can actually spend a little bit more time creating them and everything like that. And so we'll have things like, I'll already just put some videos that I've already made, like about wave management or other things like that into this playlist, and just general things that apply to most parts of the game, a random concept like wave management or certain laning tips or whatever, but basically different types of things that you guys can really apply to your general gameplay. And then I'll have, specific meta focused videos weekly, like I always do, and these types of things as well that are more focused on the specific season or patch that we're on. So if you have questions or anything that you want me to potentially answer in the future, definitely let me know, and maybe I'll answer those questions in a future video or make a video on that type of topic. So anyways, getting right into the how to improve one, which is going to be, again, the first main video of this series. So I'm just going to go right into it. The first thing that I think is really important for improvement is choosing one specific aspect of your gameplay and really focusing on that above all else. So you should, in some way, shape, or form, find a way to identify what your weaknesses are. And then once you identify those weaknesses, choose only one thing at a time to work on. So let's say, hypothetically, you feel like your lane phase is not very good, but your late game decision making is also bad. Well, you shouldn't necessarily focus on both of those things at once, because it's going to be very overwhelming to focus on them. So you would rather find one of those things. But then to go even deeper into it, your lane phase being bad doesn't just mean you're going to be like, okay, now I'm going to focus on every part of lane phase. No, you need to then, learn about your lane phase by probably watching other players or see how they lane, and then try to figure out the specific mistakes you're making in lane. So watch back a replay or two, maybe you find that you're not punishing last hits properly. Well, now that's one point to work on, punishing last hits. Maybe another part of lane is that you're not keeping track of jungle well enough. Well, and that's a second part of lane. And then maybe a third part is that you are trading when you're down a level or something. And so now you have these 3 things to think about, and now you need to be choosing between those 3 things, maybe 1 or 2 of them to work on at a time. And then once you've improved on those 1 or 2 things, you then go on to the next thing. And so this is just how you generally should go about improvement, focusing on small parts of your game at one time in order to build habits. And then once that habit's been built, you go on to the next thing. This will allow for more consistent improvement over time. And while it might not feel as drastic as changing your champion pool 20 times a season, it's going to be much better in the long run. And you're not just going to be, having to rely on specific meta picks or anything like that. It's going to be stuff that's going to always apply. Next is having a small champion pool and slowly expanding rather than playing a bunch of champions. The reason that it's important to have a small champion pool initially of, say, 2 to 3 champions is because it allows you to focus on the more macro and decision-making aspects of the game. If you're trying to figure out what your champion does or get used to the mechanics, or you forget to click a certain button on a champion you don't play very often, well, then you're not going to really be able to focus on, where is the jungle? What should I be doing in lane phase? How should I be thinking about the game? Basically the larger decision-making aspects of the game. And so it's really hard to improve when you're constantly worrying about what your champion does. And so I recommend initially choosing 2 to 3 champions, and then say you see a new champion that you want to play, only add 1 champion to your champion pool at a time. Don't add, 20 champions at a time. And so maybe you can have a specific week be focused on learning a new champion. And so then instead of trying to get better at, macro or lane phase or anything like that, just focus specifically on that champion and nothing else. Even if you lose a bunch of games, even if you play poorly, whatever, just focus on the mechanics themselves of that champion. So again, it's about having that specific focus. So if you do want to get good at a champion, really, really focus on learning that champion. And when you feel like you'd rather get good at the macro aspects of the game, stick to the champions you know best. Then after that, I recommend watching at least 1 replay of yourself a week. I don't want you to watch like 10 replays, because usually that's too many. At the end of the day, you can probably find most of your general mistakes after watching 1 to maybe 3 max replays a week. The rest of your week should be focused on actually improving those mistakes. So maybe at the beginning of the week, watch 1 video, maybe on a Monday or Tuesday, or maybe you want to do it on the weekend when you have more time, whatever works for you. Find 1 or 2 replays, then identify your mistakes in there. Write down, say, it doesn't have to be a ton of points. You don't have to write down 10 to 20 points like I do when I'm coaching someone. You can write down 1 or 2 points, and your entire week can be focused on improving 1 or 2 things. Like, that's perfectly fine. And then you just go about that week, and then you watch the replay the next week, and you'll do two things when you're watching that replay the next week. One, you'll go, see, did I improve on the aspects of gameplay that I said I wanted to improve on? If you did, then great, move on to the next thing, and now identify new things to improve from that replay. If you feel like you still are kind of struggling with that, then have another, week or a couple days of really focusing on that. And repeat this process, and you will definitely notice improvement in the long run over the course of a season. Then after that, definitely compare your decisions to higher level players. So not only should you watch your own replays, and again, keep it to a small amount, but you should also probably watch 1 or 2 games of a higher level player. So watch someone playing the same role as you. Obviously, I do stream, I play every role, so you can always watch me and try to find games, since I play autofill, of me playing different roles. You'll be able to find me playing whatever role, or watch any good player. There's plenty of good players who stream on Twitch, who make YouTube videos. Like if you're a support player, watch like Broken Support, whatever, and then go into the game and pause at key moments. So pause, 30 seconds before an objective, pause right before a key team fight, and think to yourself, ask yourself the question, what would I do in this scenario? Would I target the enemy carry? Would I target the Lulu instead of the Vayne? What would I be doing? What would I be doing in this scenario? And then watch, does that higher level player do that? Or does he not do that? And if he does the same thing that you would have done, well then good. You passed the, hypothetical test that you're making for yourself. Does he do something different? Well, sometimes it's just going to be the higher level player making mistakes, because, keep in mind, higher level players make mistakes too. But oftentimes it might be that there's something you don't really realize, and so then start thinking to yourself, why would he do this instead of what I would have done? And this can sort of allow you to, again, kind of have this problem to solve, to figure out, am I doing something wrong? Am I not? So it's just kind of a nice way to compare your gameplay to some higher level players' gameplay as well. Then after that, definitely just try to not have too much of a focus on teammates. So of course it's easier said than done. If you watch my stream, I blame teammates. It happens. I'm not saying to never blame your teammates. What I am saying is, if you're constantly focusing on your teammates being the reason you lose, you're never really going to get that much better at the game at the end of the day. And so again, every once in a while you get mad at teammates, you're tilted, whatever, you're having a bad day, that's fine. You get mad sometimes. It's totally cool. But at the end of the day, you need to definitely be able to at least realize, well, I could have at least done this thing differently, or this thing, and focus more on what you could have done differently. I also recommend, when you're in a game, to focus on what you can do now that the game is in the state that it's in. So even if your teammates make a really dumb play and they do something dumb, don't focus on that until after the game. During the game, focus on what you can do despite the game being in that state. And then if you want to, blame your teammates after the game and be like, oh, my teammates sucked, I could never win, then that's fine. But usually you got to have that, better focus while you're in the game in order to actually improve on the things that you're kind of wanting to improve on and everything like that. One of the last points that I want you guys to realize as well is that you need to view the game in terms of objectives and gold rather than kills. So this is just a general thing for improvement, and it's kind of a common mistake that a lot of people make. They will really focus on kills, and if you're looking to improve, start thinking about the game more in terms of objectives. So if there's no dragon up, that doesn't mean there's no objective up. Turrets can be thought of as objectives. Enemy scuttle can be, the scuttle can be thought of as an objective. The enemy camps can be thought of as an objective. And then of course, when you see angles to kill, I'm not saying don't kill people. You can definitely go for kills when you see good angles. But think more about objectives and gold, because is that turret going to give my team over 1,000 gold value? Yes. So why would I care about 1 or 2 kills over that turret that's going to give me way more value in terms of gold? So these are the types of things that you kind of need to think about. And so just viewing the game that way, more in terms of gold and objectives, is definitely going to be very beneficial as well. And then the final point for improvement is to ask yourself questions mid-game, and then write down the key questions that you need to ask yourself. So what I mean by questions is things like, I, as a top laner especially, but pretty much any role, I'll ask myself at least once a minute or once every other minute, where is the enemy jungler? Because the enemy jungler's location is crucial for timing my aggression and my passivity based on wherever the enemy jungle is. So that's a really important thing, is just understanding what questions are important. So again, a top laner definitely wants to ask themselves, where's the enemy jungle? A jungler might be wanting to ask themselves, are these lanes gankable? What lane should I be playing around? Who should I be pathing towards? And so every game before you start as a jungle, you need to ask yourself, where am I going to path? Do I want to path towards my top laner, my ADC? Do I want to play around my mid laner? Do I want to play for invades? Do I want to play selfish? Do I want to play to gank more? You need to be asking yourself these key questions and identifying the key questions that you feel are important. And some of the future videos on this channel in this specific playlist that you'll be, again, finding in this specific video series, will be answering those types of questions and showing you what type of questions are important. So again, obviously this is the first video of the series, and so it's going to be a pretty general thing. And then we're going to have more specific, concerted, focused videos in the future that give you kind of an idea more of what those types of questions are. But overall, that is going to be it for the video. Those are the key things. I'm going to quickly mention the key things again, and then I will pin a comment with all of the key points as well written out so you guys can kind of have an idea. But basically, the first thing is to choose one aspect of your gameplay to improve on at a time rather than improving on a lot of things. The second thing is having a small champion pool and slowly expanding it. Then make sure you're watching at least one replay a week. Compare your decisions to higher level players. You do have to play enough, of course, too. You can't just not play the game to improve. You're definitely going to have to play a decent amount. Don't focus on your teammates as much. View the game in terms of objectives rather than kills, and then ask yourself questions mid-game and write down the key questions. So overall, those are the main things. If you guys are interested in coaching as well, just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description. That can definitely help expedite the process of finding these key things that you need to improve on. It's just $15 an hour, so it's not too much. If you're interested in that, that can help you as well. If you want memberships on my YouTube channel, just $5 a month for memberships. You get access to some of my coaching notes. You get access to videos a little bit early as well. But that's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you later.